I don't think Dave will probably talk as long on offense because there
Yeah.
wasn't as much discussed today on it. But ironic. There wasn't, offensively.
Maybe it's because they didn't look so bad last week compared to the defense.
we looked like we had there. I had a lot that I liked that I saw on Saturday. I mean,
that offense beats Northwestern, I think.
Yeah, the QB was mobile. He ran around a little bit, but there's a nice mix of the run and the pass there, and they rolled out the QBs, and we had double tights at times, and I mean it was more imaginative, to use the Frost term. It was a more imaginative offense, and that clearly wasn't the issue last weekend.
God, how good is Grant? Can we just praise that boy some more? I swear to God, man, that kid. He's just so much fun to watch.
What was his carries and yards last week?
He had, of course, you asked that now. Right as my.
I mean, AJ Allen looked pretty good too. I'll fill in the space here while someone looks that up. Because I mean, overall, we had a pretty good run game, and you're right, Rob. I mean, offensively, just having an actual running back, it's been a long time. So
yeah, really.
Well, I'm looking at Grant here, and he has
27 carries, 138 yards, and a touchdown. So
27 carries.
Yeah, 27. Right?
Yeah,
27 carries, 138.
He has 428.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he has 428 rushing yards so far through 3 games. So we're a quarter of the way done. I mean, that's a 1,700. He's on pace for a 1,700-yard season.
I was going to say he could, and call me crazy. But I mean,
I'll call you crazy, Rob. Don't worry about that.
I know, but there's a chance. Realistically, I was looking at those numbers, Honky, and as the offense really does start to roll here, there's a good chance he might go for 2,000 yards this season. You don't think so, Dave? You think not against?
No, I mean, I get where you're going, but I think defenses are going to get better, and they're going to. If he's having that big of a year, they're going to start keying on him.
It just seems like he always. It just seems like he's always slipping the first 1 or 2 guys. He gets behind a guy, and all of a sudden he pops out one side or the other, and he busts around the end. And
I mean, the Big Ten is good at rush defense.
Yeah, and that's what I want to see. I want to see, how does the first 3 games translate in going forward. I mean, Oklahoma's defense has actually been pretty good this year. I mean, granted, their competition has been terrible, but Kent State moved the ball, but they were able to stop them, from scoring. And then I want to see
defense from the vaunted D coordinator Ted Roof. I mean, good.
Exactly. And Venables is a defensive guy too, but I do want to see, can we keep this going as we're hitting that Power 5 competition? And I think it seems like he can, just from what we've seen, but that'll be the key to the season going forward.
Yeah, but who would I be if I can't make some kind of an inane prediction that never comes true? I mean,
you wouldn't be Redcast Rob, really.
That's right. That's
I don't
one of these
think
days I'm going to nail it.
I don't think that he will keep on that pace. Let me be very clear there. He's on pace right now for a 1,700-yard season, but he only has to go through Oklahoma and 8 more Big Ten teams. So we'll see what that is. I mean, but I definitely think he's on pace if he stays healthy, obviously, and we all pray for that. He's certainly on pace to become a 1,000-yard back, and that is something that we haven't had a lot of lately, and that'd be a very good step in the right direction. One thing on offense here, too, that was noted today, offensive analyst Mike Cassano, he has been promoted to the position of wide receivers coach, Coach Kaz, as they call him there. He came with Frost from UCF, so he was with Frost for the last 7 years, and has been an analyst here for the last 4. So he'll be taking over the wide receiver position for Mickey. Mickey said he was still going to be involved with that position in some capacity, but at the end of the day, he's the head coach now, and he can't do all that. I do want to mention, you guys had talked about Venables, and Venables, of course, was the longtime defensive coordinator at Oklahoma and then at Clemson. Mickey brought that up today here, just about how he has gone up against Venables when he was at Clemson. So they do have some familiarity with each other.
Venables was a really good coach. I went against him when he was at Clemson. He's a really good defensive coordinator. Now he's a head coach. So I know, some of the things that they was doing on defense, they're going to do when they're at Clemson. So we understand that. But it's a big opportunity for the players, and I think they're excited.
Think of how excited Casey Thompson is. I mean, here's a guy that, we talked about all offseason. Casey Thompson had a great game last year against Oklahoma in the Red River Shootout, and their defense let them down, and all offseason we were talking about, imagine what the black shirts could do and not to let them down. And that combo of Casey really hitting it and the defense. Well, hopefully that's what we start seeing now this week. But Casey, I know, is excited to play against his dad's alma mater coming in here. So that will be a lot of fun there. What do we know about Oklahoma's defense, Boomer?
Yeah, like I said, they'd had a pretty solid first couple of weeks here. Again, the talent wasn't great, but they have played really well, basically not allowing hardly any points, really. It's like they're playing Iowa every week, so it's pretty impressive on that end. Names you really want to watch for, they've got a linebacker, Danny Stutzman. I know he got hyped up a lot. He's a sophomore, but he really is kind of playing up to the hype. He's got, I think this last week he had 12 tackles, 4 for loss, a sack. He graded really high. Billy Bowman's another guy in the secondary you're going to want to watch for. He had a lot of interceptions so far this year. He's a name you'll want to look for. So there are names. Their defense seems to be good, which is something we didn't always expect from that kind of Big 12 Oklahoma type team. We're probably used to the Big 12 being, just who cares about defense type thing. Let's score 65 and hope that counts. But Oklahoma seems like they've shifted that a little bit so far this season. Again, they haven't played anyone, resembling a Power 5 team so this will be their first real test of the season too, to see how stout that defense really is. So that's one of the fascinating matchups of this weekend and what I'm excited to watch for. So.
Offensively, and I think Rob hit on this earlier, he talked about time of possession. When we played Oklahoma last year, I went down to the game, and I was there in 2008, the first year of Pelini, when we were down 35-0 at the end of the first quarter. And, well, I think we all were there other than Rob. But anyways, doesn't matter. We were down 35-0. And to get down 35-0, granted, one of them was a pick six. But other than that, that meant that Oklahoma had to have 4 possessions in the first quarter to get to 35. So last year, when I'm in the stands, and all I was doing was just watching the clock. That was really the thing I was more intrigued with. And it took them about 7 minutes to get down the field, and they had to convert some 3rd and longs and things, but they scored a touchdown. Martinez gets on the field. Of course, we jump off sides a couple times before we get our first snap, the usual. But we struggle, we figure out a way to get down the field. It takes about 7 minutes. We kick a field goal. We make it. That was a shocker. And with about a minute left, Oklahoma's getting the ball for the second time, and we're down 7-3. And all I could say, it's very early in the game, but I'm like, that's a win. That's a win for us. We are playing the style of game that we want to play against them, which was a very disciplined, of all things, disciplined, run heavy, move the clock, a Big Ten style of kind of game that Frost employed. Can Whipple do that? Or does he?
What style of game do you want to? What style of game do you think we want to play this weekend?
You're saying a shootout versus,
we want to protect the defense.
Our offense seems to be very shootout oriented.
We may not have a choice.
Yeah, do we need to turn this into a classic Big 12 style game? Is that what we need to do?
I would be in favor of. I think the time of possession is going to be very important. I think that we need to take as much time off. We have been very successful this year in finishing drives with touchdowns. I got to give the offense a lot of credit there. We haven't been settling for a lot of field goals, but it wouldn't kill me at all to see a bunch of 5 and 6 and 7 minute drives. I think that would be really important because, as we've seen, Oklahoma doesn't take a lot of time and doesn't need a lot of time to score touchdowns and score points. So the less time they have the ball, the better.
Are we situated to do that? We've seen that in a lot of our drives. We tend to move pretty quickly. We move up tempo. And that was part of the problems, in the game with Georgia Southern. We left them too much time on our last scoring drive. We moved the ball so quickly and we scored.
Yeah.
Is that what we're meant to be? I don't know. So.
And for scoring touchdowns, we're scoring touchdowns.
Shift in philosophy at this point, I don't know. So.
Yeah, Dave, you're.
Yeah, no, I see where Boomer is going there. I think if we can establish a run game versus Oklahoma, that's going to be a big deal, right? So, we can, take our shots. And then, Boomer, to your point, that last drive, I don't think we needed to take that shot to Marcus Washington. That ended up, after review, getting us down to the 1. I think we could have kept on running the ball and drained off another minute or minute and a half, and that we might have had a completely different result in that game if we didn't give them 4 minutes to score, right? We had to do one or the other. We ended up actually putting it right where they had enough time to score but didn't give us anything back, right? So I think if we're going to take that approach and try to save our defense a little bit, I mean, we got to commit to the run game and then execute it. And if we can do that, that's amazing. But we may have to throw the ball at some point.
Dave, I think you have a really interesting perspective here. We had a former Husker head coach from back in the day that was up in the press box, and you were able to sit close enough to him. You could just hear him talking about, and he talked about it was George Darlington, and he teaches a football class and has over the years and stuff. And he just kind of was talking about the timing, like, everything you just said there. I mean, when you got to the end, it's like, well, this team's not going to stop them, so you better have this much time left, and if you don't, you're going to run out.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, George Darlington knows more football. He's forgotten more than we will ever learn, right?
Yep.
And I mean, he was like, they either need to let Georgia Southern score right away, or they should have taken more time off the clock while we had the ball, right? And we did the exact opposite. We gave them 4 minutes, I think, to 3 or 4 minutes to drive down there, and they gave us 36 seconds back, right? If we had a minute 36, we might have had plenty of time to get in much better field goal range. And if we only gave them 2 minutes, they maybe would have had a completely different set of plays they would have had to run, because they wouldn't have had as much time to execute their 2-minute drills.
If we had a minute 36, there's a good chance that we scored the touchdown. I mean, the way that we're moving,
truth, huh?
and
of course, we might have scored it in 36 seconds, and they'd have had a minute to score. And
there you go.
It's got to go on all night. Yeah.
It never ends. But to your point, Dave, that one throw that was to Washington that came down to the 1 yard line, and it's a great throw. It's a great catch. It was right in front of me. And I mean, heaven forbid. I mean, I don't want to come back negative on the team for making a play. I mean, they made a great play. It's just more it is that thing of, this is going to be a game where I think we're going to be better off with fewer possessions than more. I think just knowing our defense right now, I don't want to see them on the field more times than I have to. And if our offense can chew up 8 minutes, on the clock, I mean, literally, that's what North Dakota did to us. That's what Northwestern wants to do to us. And everyone said that we're more talented than those teams. Well, then fine. I'll agree that Oklahoma is more talented than us. So let's not give them the ball more times than they need it.
Yep, that's right.